Welcome back, everybody. This is Courage Over Fear. Today I want to talk to you about a subject that my wife and I were talking about last night before we went to bed. And it basically boils down to that a revolution, civil war, or a change in our American government will never happen. And I'll talk about those reasons just here in just a little bit. But first, I want to talk about another subject we were talking about, which is money. Precious metal money or precious paper money. Back in the day, there was a thing called bartering and trading. And what would happen would, a person would take a couple items, which, this is metal, okay? But they are not considered precious metals nowadays. You can't buy anything with these metals right here. But you can buy stuff with these metals right here. Back in the day, you could go to your county store or country store, bring some items with you, and go home with this item. You could barter or trade these two items for this item right here. Nowadays, you have to take a bunch of these to get one of these. Who decided that this kind of money and this kind of metal, or this kind of paper and this kind of metal was considered precious, considered valuable, to the point where this piece of paper is different from this piece of paper. The only difference is that a corporation, a bank, decided we should have, or we should turn this piece of paper into this piece of paper. You want me to show you the similarities? You could write on this piece of paper. You could write on this piece of paper. When you do this, they both sound pretty much the same. You can rip this piece of paper, and you could rip this piece of paper. Either way, it's paper. Paper covered in ink. Paper with a seal stamp writing a picture on it, which makes it more valuable than this piece of paper, because it doesn't have a seal, a stamp, or picture, or somebody's name on it, saying that it is valuable. Who decided that this paper was less important than this paper? I can tape this paper back together and make it whole again just as well as I could tape this back together and make it whole again. But I can't buy anything with this. But I can buy something with this. If I don't have this, I don't get this. Back in the day, you would work, your job was to keep yourself and your family alive. Grow your own crops. Raise your own cattle. Dig wells for your own water. Make food for your cattle. Just as the farmers do today. But then they still have to pay money to get seed, to get shots and everything for their cattle. All of a sudden, money has become the root of anything here in the world. If you want anything, you need money to get it. Somebody decided that you could buy something with this precious metal, but you can't buy anything with this precious piece of gold. I cannot go to a store and buy a can of those beans with this golden ring. That actually is worth more than these 3/4. But I can go to a store and purchase something with these 3 pieces of so-called precious metal. Think about that. Think about the way it was compared to now. How you have to have these so-called precious metals, precious paper, in order to purchase anything here in the United States or anywhere across the globe. It never used to be that way. You used to be able to buy food, grain, whatever, with this. Or with this. You could actually bring this to somebody and trade it for something different. Something that you needed. You can't do that nowadays. You need those precious metals, so-called precious metals. Or that paper that could rip, just like any piece of paper that has ink on it, that is considered worth something, worth more than notebook paper, than cardboard, but it's all still paper. Now, think about that while you think about this. The reason why a revolution or a civil war will not happen here in the United States is due to the fact that the public, including myself, is too worried about their job. They feel if they say, I'm taking off of work right now and I'm going to go to Capitol Hill and I am going to go and change our government. But I can't do that because I got to get up at 5 a.m. to be to work. I got to get up at 5 a.m. to make a paycheck to get precious metals and money to buy groceries, to pay for electricity, to pay for water that is actually free. Believe it or not, water is free, but we still pay for it. The American people will never come together as one unit to change our government because they are too worried about that ticking clock when that alarm clock is going to go off and tell them it is time to go to work. It is more important to go to work and make some precious paper to go buy some groceries than it is to change the government we all complain about. Including myself, we all complain about our government. We all say how we dislike the way our government is ran. We wish it was back the way it used to be. We wish we could do something about it. Well, we can, but we won't. We are too worried about money. We are too worried that we will get fired from our job and no longer have any money. And that's what it all boils down to. We will all go to sleep tonight. We will all get up early in the morning. And we will all go back to work. And work those 8 hours. Or 10 hours. Or 12 hours. To make that tiny paycheck to pay for our bills that our government has placed onto us. Do you know that I believe a quarter of the national debt is placed on the American people. They're saying it's our fault because we pay taxes. That is our debt. That $1 trillion deficit is our fault. And they say that it's our fault because we pay taxes. Did we make that debt? No. They made that debt. But we are responsible for their debt. And still, we get up every morning, put on our pants one leg at a time, get into our vehicles, go to the gas station and buy our $4 a gallon gasoline, and go off to work for a measly $8.25 an hour. Minimum wage. That's what minimum wage is, $8.25 an hour. Or is it $8.50? Either way, $8.25, $8.50, you're still working for a measly amount of money. 1 gallon of gasoline is half of what you make in 1 hour at work. But we still do it, and we still come home, and we still complain that our government is doing us wrong. And we still go to bed every single night worrying about how we're going to pay our bills. But we sit around and do nothing about it. We make videos, we air it on radio, we write blogs about it, but we still do nothing. Think about that. This is why a revolution will never happen in the United States of America. Even though we are no longer free, even though our rights as American citizens have been stripped from us, we still abide by the rules and get up every morning and go to work to pay back their debt and put ourselves into deeper debt. There are so many unemployed people out there. There are so many people out there starving, going hungry at night because they can't afford to buy food, because they can't afford to pay their rent. And we all sit back and say, oh my God, I got to get up in a few hours to go to work. God, our government needs to change. What are we going to do about it? Nothing. We're going to get up and go to work. We're going to come home and we're going to cash our paycheck and we're going to dump all that money that we just worked hard for into bills that we never created. Because we, as a people, did not create money. We, as a people, did not create the national debt. We, as a people, did not put ourselves in this situation. But we stand here and let it consume us. And we do nothing about it. Because we are too afraid to lose our jobs.